Welcome to Next Stage, our new performing arts center in a very old building in downtown Putney. This building was a church for 237 years. It was built in 1841 and went by a number of names. Finally closed its doors in 2009, and the congregation turned the building over to the Putney Historical Society. And at that point, the society came to a group of us in Putney and said, we have this new building, old building, and we're thinking it would be a nice performing arts center. What do you think? And we said that would be great. So we got started right away. In early 2010, Twilight Music did its first concert here in March of 2010. Since then, Twilight Music has done pretty much monthly concerts. Yellow Barn has done a number of concerts, and we formed Next Stage Arts Project, a nonprofit group that's also presenting films and lectures and all sorts of events here, music. So we've got a variety of programming at this point, and we welcome anyone to use the space, to rent the space for any type of programming. So we're new, but we've made a lot of improvements to the building. It's a work in progress, but we've built a new stage and added theatrical lighting and upgraded the wiring, added curtains, and it's a real theater at this point. We've got a popcorn machine even for our Friday night movies. So we've got a ways to go, but we've done some amazing work here between the Putney Historical Society and Next Stage Arts Project, and we're just getting warmed up.
I'm always a little behind.
Okay, this is our theater, and over the past year and a half, anyhow, we've made a lot of improvements to the space, transforming it from the church to a theater. And one of the first major changes we made was we built a new stage, because when we started doing concerts in March of 2010, we still had the altar up there, and it was a little tough for bands to navigate, because over the years the altar had been repaired a number of times, and I think there were 5 or 6 different levels as you cross the stage, some only a half an inch different from the space right before, so it was actually rather dangerous to try to walk across and trip. So we built a new stage, put in the light bars. There's 2 one on each side and one overhead on the stage. Curtains, drapes. As you can see, an amazing movie screen. We do weekly movies. At this point, we're doing Friday night movies. We've done kids movies, kids matinees on the weekends. But this screen came from Wyndham College originally, and it's nice. It's a large screen, as you can see.
It's huge. You have to raise it and lower it by hand, like the old days.
We do a lot of things the old-fashioned way. It's a really nice projector, and that's the last sometimes they're always grayed out.
We have Blu-ray. 50/50.
Yeah, you're close enough.
Bluetooth.
Bluetooth, I think that's what it is. So, do you have to get the licensing permit to do the films?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were fortunate. Billy Strauss, one of the board members, was able to get a single blanket policy.
Oh.
But there's a back stairway. You can see the rail at the back of that pew. So artists will warm up downstairs and have to come up that back stairway to actually be on stage, although occasionally choose to come down it somehow. So that's one of the major projects we have in the long-term plan, is to get a green room, which would be just on the other side of the
Welcome. Thank you for coming out this evening to our Artist Forum on the art of the press release. I'm Doug Cox. I'm the president of the Arts Council of Windham County, and our mission is to strengthen the environment for artists and arts organizations in Windham County. And one of the best ways to strengthen the environment for artists is to give them the skills and to connect them with the resources that are there to help them grow their business and improve their art. And one of those resources is the press. And the topic this evening is going to be how can artists make the best use of what the press has out there, and how do they make that connection, the press release being the tried and true basic way of getting that out. We'll do a little round of introductions because it is one of the most important things that we want to do is to bring artists together and to make sure that people know each other. And but before that, I'd like to say just a word about how this event came about. 2 months ago, the Arts Council, in cooperation with RAMP in Bellows Falls and Brattleboro West Arts, held an artist potluck in Bellows Falls. This is just an occasional get-together, and we focus on one particular artist and what their path has been. We call it making it in the arts. So someone who has to outside appearances anyway, made it. And we invited Charlie Hunter to be our very entertaining guest for that event. And in the course of that conversation, he talked a lot about the press and how he uses the press and how he uses it regularly. And I think Lynn was saying that, or commented that Charlie was one of the few artists in Windham County that she hears from regularly. Every 2 weeks or so, there is something that comes across her radar screen from Charlie that he's sort of actively doing that. And
Carol too, from time to time.
And at the end of the session, Joyce came up to me and said, you know, what we really need is a session for artists to understand how to write press releases and how to get the word out there. So that's what we're doing this evening. And one of the things that I think that I'd like us to focus on is not just what are the mechanics of the press release, but what is it about an artist that is of interest to the general public. It might not be what we as artists think is interesting. And how do we identify that in our own lives, in our own work, in our own art, and how do we make that part of what we do, part of our public persona, part of what we put out there, to make it easy for the public to understand what we do as artists and to come and buy our stuff. So that's what we're going to do this evening. I'm Doug Cox. I'm a violin maker, and thanks for being here. And so please say, take this is your elevator speech moment. So sort of who you are, what you're from, and sort of why you're here, or what your angle is on this whole question.
Hi, my name is Shelley Huber, and I have a business called Creating Business. It's for small business development, specializing in art business development. And I'm located in Newfane, Vermont.
I'm Chip Greenberg. I'm an architect. My office is just up the road here. And I'm on the board of Next Stage. And I guess that's why I'm here.
And I neglected to thank Next Stage for hosting us and co-sponsoring this event, and also the Brattleboro Commons newspaper for also being a sponsor of this event. You're a host. Yes.
Oh. I'm Sharon Myers, and as most of you may know, I do cook, and I would like to start selling some of my art instead of just my food.
I'm Naomi Lindenfeld, and I'm a potter in West Brattleboro, and I realize I'm on the, I do PR for Brattleboro West Arts, Empty Bowls, an African dance class, which I'm missing tonight to be here, and Cherry Street Artisans. I've written lots of press releases, and I'm sure I have plenty to learn. Continue to do so.
I'm Mary Welsh. I'm from Williamsville. I'm a member of Rock River Artists, and I came to see what I could learn. Oh, I'm sorry, I do collages.
I'm Rob Cartelli. I'm a potter, member of the Brattleboro Clayworks and Rock River Artists in South Newfoundland. And I'm just here to learn how to access all the resources that I can for my art.
Ditto, except that I'm Chris Trebert. South Newfoundland Rock River artist, trying to learn more about how to do the publicity part.
Carol Ross, also a part of the Rock River Artists, not as an artist though, as the treasurer and one of the founders. I'm a graphic designer by career, but I'm here because I'm interested in PR for the group, for Rock River Artists.
I'm Mary Hepburn from Saxton's River. I'm a potter, and I do PR for the Jelly Bean Tree Crafts Cooperative and for Vermont Academy. Mary Hepburn.
I'm Barry Stockwell. I'm the venue manager here at Next Stage. I'm also on the Next Stage Arts Project Board, and I run Hooker Dunham Theater and Gallery in Brattleboro, and I am a concert presenter at Twilight Music. And I've still got a band, Stockwell. And I write a lot of press releases, and I'd love to learn more on how to do that well.
Oh, I'm Julian McBrown. I'm the program manager here at Next Stage, and I'm on the board of Next Stage. And part of my job is to disseminate the press releases and to communicate with the press in general about things that go on here. So that's one of the reasons that I'm here.
I'm Deidre Shera. I'm an artist, visual artist who works with thread on fabric and paper. I often focus on elders and been known for my work with hospice, palliative care, and I'm also a Rock River artist, so here I am.
Francine Valerio, and I'm from Estiville, and a retired teacher. I do literacies for photography, and I'm really here. My son has a business, so I'm interested in various aspects of public relations, but I'm trying to gather it for the skate park as well, that I'm involved in helping start.
Deborah Bazar, painter, photographer, graphic designer, video, work with Maria sometimes. And I'm also on the Putney Craft Tour, and I do a lot of PR for my clients, and not as good at doing it for myself. So give myself permission to do marketing instead of that's my new mantra, is it's okay to market yourself. So.
Lisa Kittel from Grafton, and I run the Grafton Music Festival, which is a relatively new but growing presenting organization. And so I'd like to learn more about how to do publicity, not just for concerts, but also for fundraisers and other events.
Dal Wiltshire. Originally, I've lived in Bennington for 22 years and moved here to Putney 3 years ago. I'm a fiber artist, as well as a website designer, and I also teach a method of an art method called Zentangle, which basically allows anybody to get in touch with their creative self, and it's a very easy line drawing, pen and ink method. And I need to work on marketing myself too.
My name's Terry Malloy. I'm from Vernon, Vermont, and I'm the marketing director for Fast Friends Greyhound Rescue. So I'm always looking for new ways to get press releases picked up. I do a lot of press releases, but I'm always interested in hearing what makes different papers and media pick up press releases. So hopefully to hear about that tonight.
I'm Roger Sanders. I'm a painter. I live in Williamsville. I'm another Rock River Artist member, and I'm here to learn the 5 most important things I have to remember to do for publicity.
I'm Alan Steinberg. I'm a clay artist at the Clay Works, and I teach classes there. I'm also a psychosynthesis guide, and I do workshops here and there that involve clay, psychosynthesis, ecopsychology, poetry, mythology, ritual, you name it. And I could use to, it'd be good for me to improve my press release skills for all of that.
So, why don't we hear your elevator speeches first, and then we'll come back to the topic.
Okay, can I start? Yes, please. Lynn Barrett. I know some of you, not all of you. I started doing public relations many years ago in New York City, working for a one-man PR firm, where I really learned how to write a press release. After about a year, that was the last time I ever wrote a press release until I came to Vermont, because public relations really involves a lot more than just writing a press release. And we can talk about that in a little bit. But I had my own agency in New York. I worked for a large public relations agency. I worked for Mobil Oil as one of the only females in the corporate PR department, and also as director of communications for CBS. So here I am writing press releases again.
And you have a magazine.
And I have a magazine.
That
and
they might want to be in.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Joyce Marcel. I'm a journalist, and I thought that maybe I would be able to tell you something about writing press releases, but it sounds like you're all more experienced than I am. But I'm on the receiving end, and if you guys write really good press releases, then that's half of my job. So that's why I'm here tonight.
So, which of you wants to?
I think Joyce is going to kick it off.
Okay,
Yeah.
kick it off.
Well, I don't know, Roger, about 5. I came up with 22 different
A couple of other things. We have a real nice piece that Steve Proctor did on grants for artists in Windham County. Some basics and some specifics to Windham County of how arts grants that are available and approaches that artists in Windham County should take toward getting grant funding for your work. That's available on the website. Joyce.
Yes. Okay. This may be basic for some of you, but I'm going to just run through them generally. The first thing is to read the publications that you want to be in. Listen to the radio stations that you want to be on. Look at the websites of everything that you want to contact, because everyone is slightly different. If Tim Johnson was here and he couldn't make it tonight, he wanted me to say, for him and for the radio, who, what, where, when, why, how. Quick, short, and then he can read it. I'm here as a reporter for just about all the media in Vermont right now, including Lynn's magazine, which is all about art. And I've written about, I think, half of this audience. So this is the format for a press release, and this is what I really wanted you to see, and this would be on your website.
Let me just see that a minute. Yeah, that's pretty good, with no capital letters.
Oh.
Well,
Anyway.
because then the media has to change it, it takes time.
Yeah. Okay. So on the top, the date for immediate release. Then all of the contact information you can shovel onto the page. Who you are, how to reach you by phone, by cell, by website, by email, by anything that you can think of. Then a headline, not in caps, I'm told. Then the body of the press release. At the bottom, I use the 3 marks 30, 3 marks, which is an old journalism trick, but anything to indicate that that's the end of it. This is 2 pages long, and it's because I had to print it in large type because I'm old. if it should be one page. Most editors don't have time, and they want it short. Now, what are you going to do? Look at your event or what you're trying to tell people about. Find the news first. Is it a new show? Is it a new award? Is it a new style? Did you get a grant? Did you get a big sale? Do you have a new mentor? Are you in some publication? What's the story? It's not that, wow, I'm here and I'm wonderful. It's what would people who don't even know you be interested in learning about you on this particular press release. So it's what news are you trying to get across? The most important thing is you have to have a really good first sentence. If you can compress all of the information in one sentence or have some way of attracting attention. I'm married to an editor. He's on the Commons. And the desks pile this high with competing press releases. And the quicker you can get the editor's attention, the better.
First, we have a question as we go along.
Sure, go ahead.
Can you define what makes a good first sentence?
Well, I wrote a story for Vermont Business Magazine this afternoon, and I had to compress an entire lifetime of business, someone's business, into my first sentence. And I wrestled with it for a long time about, should I use a quote? It's a second generation family, so should I use a quote about fathers? Should I use a quote about, it's a wise father that knows his arms? No, that's not going to work for this. And finally I decided to say that this is a very odd company. It's making $100 million a year in the biotech industry, and it's in Vermont. And who knew? And then I got Peter Shumlin to say the same thing. So, but that's not about art. Lynn is really good at this, and she's going to tell you how to do this. I depend on her a lot for that. Be clear. If the editor doesn't know what you're talking about, he's not going to put it in the paper, or she's not going to put it in the paper. Don't use art speak. Make sure you put the event title, the location, the date in the second paragraph, at least in the second paragraph, because you'd be surprised how many people put it at the end. And that's not going to help your case. What you have to remember is every press release is fighting with a lot of other press releases. And in the media in this area, and they're only really, the Reformer and the Commons, in terms of the press, you're competing with the Wyndham Humane Society and everything else. Okay, there are two different formats. There's calendar and there's press release. And you should do both of them. If you write a short calendar brief, this is going to happen, and you don't need a catchy sentence for that. Just Chris Trebert is going to speak at the Photography Center Friday, That will definitely get you in a calendar. And then...
Joyce?
Yes.
Should that be sent separately, or could
No, you can combine them.
You can combine it.
You can.
But you should alert to the editor at the top
Yes.
that the calendar is there.
Yes.
Because a lot of times they don't look to the end.
Or send it in 2 emails. And of course, I'm assuming that we're all going to be using email for this, because it hardly ever comes to paper anymore. For the catchy sentence and that whole thing, that's a press release. And what you want to do is write as much of a story as you can, because there are very lazy reporters around. And if you write the whole story, then they just have to pick up the phone, call you, get a few quotes, and then it's a news story. So write as full a story as you can, and that's the press release.
I would disagree slightly.
Go ahead.
But, well, I mean, there is a kind of a form to a press release where the news comes down the page. In a story, it might be positioned differently. And, you're not really writing a story. What you're writing is a press release. And hopefully, you'll get the reporter to actually write a full-blown story because you've written such an exciting, newsworthy, human interest-worthy press release. But around here, it doesn't matter so much. Yeah, seriously. Because, she's right that the whole thing could be printed, but even a press release, many times they'll just print. It's not a feature story. There's a difference.
Okay, I should say that I write press releases for a bunch of companies. I do that as income, and I've seen my stories word for word appear in the Reformer with the reporter's byline on it. So
Yeah, well, I have too. But
Yeah.
It's different type of writing.
So we're talking now just about here, and you're probably going to want a wider audience, but these things still hold true. I mean, you want to be in the New York Times, you don't really want to be in the Brattleboro Reformer. So it's still the same thing.
George,
Yes,
can I
Chris.
just ask a question so I can be clear? If you wrote a press release and say sent it to the Reformer about a local story, and you gave kind of the cliff notes but a well-written press release, and then the Reformer called you, or whatever newspaper, and they wanted to write a full story, is the protocol that they should pay you for that, or they put your... That's the part I don't know. You said like your words were there with some that
Doesn't matter. It's a press release. The press release is the sort of official information that's going to the media, between you and the media. And it's free. I mean, either you're paying yourself or someone's paying you to write it, hopefully.
But a reporter shouldn't put their name on it if they're taking a word for
They
or they may. And it
They
doesn't-
can. The press release is for them to use.
To use.
They want to put their name on it,
Okay.
that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's up to them. I don't know what their rules are. But certainly it's
That's
an
allowed.
official, definitely. Definitely.
And again, just a quick question. If it's about an event, so should the facts, the date, the time, the location, be in the first paragraph, or should the first paragraph catch you with the information about the wonderful chamber orchestra that's performing?
Well, it's exactly the same thing. I'm going too fast. For the calendar, you want in the one paragraph 50 words, and that should be up front. For a press release where you're trying to get a news story out of it, you're going to want something human interesty or what's so exciting. For the first time in Vermont history, this person is coming to play. And then who, what, where, when, why, and how. Is that clear? Yeah, Naomi.
Do you ever suggest having it at the front, at the beginning and at the end?
If it's in one place, why would you do it in two?
Because people never read anything.
It emphasizes.
They don't notice the facts, so.
Editors will just cut one of them out. You want it up, you want it in the second paragraph, all the information. I know you see sometimes at the bottom this, that, and the price and everything else, and you can certainly put that in. Yeah.
More information.
Or have the title, the dates, hours, and then have the location at the end.
Sometimes you can also put, like if it was the strolling of the heifers. Well, the strolling of the heifers, the parade is going to kick off, slated for June 1st, as a headline. And then you can, depending on how big the event is, how important, you think it might be. So these are not exactly hard and fast rules, but she's right about getting the information, the important information, at the beginning. Because many times the stuff at the end doesn't get looked at, or if you haven't caught them at the beginning,
Okay, this is from the Commons. No adjectives ever. It's not wonderful, beautiful, it's not luscious, it's not, no adjectives.
Well, and that would be true for any publication. And you never put those in a press release. And you don't say, we're so proud.
Yeah.
So nothing's subjective.
Yeah,
nothing's
exactly.
subjective.
Very good.
It's the news, it's the hard facts.
Can I ask a question about that? would you consider it just the news if the New York Times has proclaimed this as the best singer of the 20th century?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
That's your lead.
Okay.
In like manner, if it was a quote, you could use it.
Yes.
And
you
you're not
attribute it.
saying it, but you're
Exactly.
attributing.
That's another tactic.
Yeah, it's
It's a good tactic.
probably better not to use a quote to open any story or press release. That's sort of a journalistic rule, but it certainly can be second.
Is
And
it-
the
is it-
reformer tends not to pick up any quotes that are written in press releases. So try and write it without the quotes. I mean, you can have one quote, certainly, you know, according to so-and-so, this is the best thing since sliced bread, but then, you know, write it with the facts.
And write it so that that can be cut out without.
Exactly, without harming the rest of
the
the
message
story,
being lost,
the
yeah.
message.
Okay. The next rule is don't spam. If you've got an event here, you don't want to tell all the Maine and Rhode Island newspapers about it. You don't what? You're looking at me like, no?
I want to
Okay.
hear what you have to say.
It really gets editors annoyed if it's not relevant to their publication, if it's from outside the area. I mean, even Claremont is stretching it for this area.
What about events that are meant to attract tourists who might want to come for the weekend and have an event? Wouldn't you want to send it to someone like
In that case, you're more or less sending to travel editors.
Oh.
And there aren't really any travel editors in Vermont, really. I mean, there's AP has a travel section. But, so once you're outside of Vermont, your best bet is to hit the travel editors for all of these events that everyone's doing.
As opposed to arts.
As opposed to arts. I mean, yes, go to the arts too, but you're more likely in the Boston Globe to get a travel, travel story.
That's a good one.
I just spent the afternoon with the travel editor from the Boston Globe about the Brattleboro West Arts studio tour. We toured the studios.
Great.
And they're going to be doing a piece.
Very good.
Good.
How did that come about?
Sending our press release and I think about 4 photos to travel editors around New England and beyond. And they must have seen something in the photos or our press release that caught their attention. And
Was that Christina Tree?
No, it's a woman who works for her. Her name's Nisi Regis. And she happened to be coming to this area to do a story for the Washington Post on spending a weekend in towns in Jamaica, Putney area. And because she was coming to this area, it tied in well to come visit us.
Naomi, can I ask how you made the contact in the first place? Was it just a cold email, like with no introduction, or?
Correct, no introduction. I got an email list of contacts from Marty Cohn, who we had hired last year to be our publicist. And I think there was a name there that helped. And other than that, it was a cold email.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Lightning does strike.
Wow.
Can I ask too, Joyce, the idea of sending something to a travel editor if you're going beyond your area, what would be considered this area? Like if you send something to the arts editor, say in the Greenfield paper or Rutland, are we still considered?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, that's
so
I mean,
beyond.
Rutland only has Susan Small here, and she's so really busy doing so many things for this area that it's tough. You know, you really have, and you should, you know, we haven't gotten into making follow-up phone calls and that sort of thing, but, you know,
Yeah. Only a little more. Okay, find out the deadline of the places you want your announcement to appear, and then respect them. And understand that if you want to be in the Reformer, it has a different deadline than the Commons does. So you need to know what they are. And send your press release electronically about 2 weeks before the event. Send good, colorful pictures as JPEG attachments along with your story. That we call that art in our business. And it increases your chances, obviously. And good work. That's really exciting. Okay, I'm going to talk, what?
I've experienced sending the JPEGs and then getting only the picture and the caption. So I've paid more attention to the caption than I ever did before.
That's a good point, too. I didn't think of that. Right.
You want to say something?
Just that this woman this afternoon made a point of saying this was for a travel story and not an art story per se. So it's about what the experience is like coming on a studio tour and not talking about our artwork in a critique kind of manner. So we were careful to address it being a travel story.
That's it. To widen it up, if you've got a larger event, you can certainly, hit all the Globe and the Times and the Albany paper. I've had, for Rock River in the beginning, I got people to come from Providence, Rhode Island, because I had a story in the paper.
We still talk about that.
You got people to come from New Jersey, too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
Want to work for us again, Joyce? Want to work for us again?
Sure. The next thing would be to get to know the press people in your area. It helps to meet them, to know them by name, to introduce yourself. Nobody, like John Potter, there's me, there's the Commons people, there's Lynn. Olga, there's me. There's not that many of us, and if you call us up or if you see me on the street and you say, this is really great and this is happening, I might want to write a story about it. And the whole idea of the press release is to let us know that something interesting is coming so that we might want to write a story about it. We're looking for stories all the time. We're hungry for stories. We like to know what's new, what's happening. If you get in the New York Times, wow, that's exciting. You get a Globe story. You get to be the 11th best small art town in the United States. This is great. These are all news stories. Peter.
The timing, this 2 weeks before or whatever it is they say, does that give the press release enough of a chance to get that interest to become a real story?
I would say it depends on how big the story is. Sometimes if you're shooting for a front page or you're shooting for a John Potter story, it helps him to alert him a little bit more in advance so that he can plan. And it's a good time, it's a good idea also to set up a meeting with him and, have a quick coffee or something and talk about it. And then you can follow up with information. So it depends on how big the story is.
So more than 2 weeks in that situation?
In that situation, yeah. But normally, for a normal event, 2 weeks is plenty of time.
Yeah. What would you advise for situations where people need to make plans to take part in something months and months in advance, like a week-long event that might involve getting on a plane or booking rooms? What kind of time frame are we talking about there? What's the scope of
Well,
limitations?
you're talking about sending out, you could send out a save the date. I don't know what media you're looking for.
Yeah, what's
what
your
kind
target
of media?
media?
What's your target
An art
media?
workshop in the Virgin Islands?
Oh, I saw your information about that.
Yeah.
Well, a press release is one thing. I don't know how much of interest that is to a local paper, like the Reformer. What would you say?
I would say probably not, but then you want to target all the art magazines.
Exactly. And also you want to do, if you have a mailing list, some sort of a digital mailing list, your website, get the information out there, through blogs and that sort of thing. The thing about the press release, it's the information. It forces you to put it all down on paper, get your thoughts organized, come out with the best angle you can come up with that's going to make it so newsworthy, or maybe it's a human interest story. Maybe there's somebody who's like Chris. Chris had an unfortunate human interest story, but it was on the front page of the Brattleboro Reformer because of Irene. It's an unfortunate situation, but there's just these wonderful stories, people are interested to hear about other people's lives. And, you know, so that's a different kind of a thing. I'm getting off track a little bit, but, you know, locally, you know, it's not really the kind of thing that they would write about, unfortunately. So you have to use other means to get the word out. And there's lots of other means. One thing we didn't talk about.
No, I've got a few more, but go ahead.
Go. No.
Okay. A newspaper isn't Burger King. You don't get it your way. And this is something that Randy wanted me to tell everyone who sends the Commons press releases. They're going to edit. They're going to change things. And they'll choose what parts get in and what parts don't. They'll run calendar pieces for anyone. I'm pretty sure that they do. You know, that would not be a difficult thing to get in the paper. But if you want to see it perfectly the way you want to see it, buy an ad.
Buy an ad. That's what I listen.
Yeah. Okay, and being an advertiser does not guarantee that they'll write a story about it. Okay. I don't.
In a small town, it helps.
Be clear, be concise, tell a story. That's what I wanted to say. I hope that is helpful. Go.
Well, in terms of the press release, of course, nowadays, in social media, you can also put hyperlinks in your press release so that they'll get picked up by other, through the internet, they can get picked up. There are also free press release services. There's also a new travel press release service. I don't think it's free though, that I was just looking at, got some information about. And I mean, there's so many avenues to get the word out. How many people here know that I publish a magazine? Wow. How many people have I heard from with a press release? Hello?
How many people bought an ad?
How many people bought an ad? There you go. Okay, that's good. But you should also be sending press releases. How hard is it to put even our calendar together? I don't hear from people. We're pulling teeth to get information. And it's harder for us because we're 3 months in advance. So a lot of people, to your 2-week press release, we need it further in advance. And, you know, people, once in a while, I get a phone call. And I talk to people, and, you know, there are very interesting stories out there. And I'm not much different than Joyce in terms of we want to hear from you. And if we're too busy, we'll let you know. I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever called, you know, the Today Show, for example. I mean, that's really what I did in New York. I got people on network television shows. That's why I wasn't writing press releases. I was writing pitch letters and coming up with ideas. But, you know, you've got like a minute to tell your story. And they're on to the next, you know, the next call or the next thing. So, you know, there's so many different ways to get the word out. So it's the hyperlinks in your press releases which help. Certainly, you know, we're getting into more than just press releases, but you've got Facebook pages. I'm sure all of you have Facebook pages, and I'm sure you have Twitter accounts, etc. And maybe you only have 5 people. You know, you've got to build your lists up and put news in on a regular basis.
Lynn,
yeah.
Coming back to the calendar, I wonder when is enough enough? Next Stage has 9-10 events a month, and if you look around this room and think about the various organizations that have lectures and movies and book signings and so on, there's an awful lot of stuff. What do you do if all these organizations all send you all the things they do? You probably don't want to put all that stuff in your magazine.
What we do is we can put it on our website. We can put, and actually, I think we're the only publication that lists all the information for the museums and for gallery openings. for free. And then we just cut out the day-to-day because we're going to put the day-to-day events on our website. But we don't have that problem yet. It's not a problem yet. And if it becomes a problem, it'll all go on the website.
Can I just... website?
VermontArtsLiving.com. So, we're talking a little bit about public relations. There is the press release, and that's the basic form. But aside from that, there's a media alert. How many people here have ever written a media alert? Anybody know what it is? It's the who, what, when, where, and why, short form, and basically who, what, when, where, and why. One page, very short, and it serves as a good reminder to an event that's coming up. And it also is suggesting that this is a good photo or TV opportunity. Mostly media alerts go to TV, radio, and photographers.
How is it different from a calendar? It's fuller?
Well, the format is different, sure. And it's going to TV news desks, photo desks, and radio desks, radio news.
Well, if you're sending it, what's in the subject line of these emails?
Well, first of all, it says media alert, and secondly, it'll say whatever the headline would be. It's like a press release with the headline, but it says, and then you can actually, I didn't bring one, but in a media alert, you can say what the photo opportunities are. Who's going to be, who's going to be there? Governor Shumlin and, the Arts Council of Wyndham County. What? The biggest grant ever for the Arts Council of Wyndham County. When? What time? Background information. Interview opportunities can be a separate little item. That sort of thing. So you're really giving them quickly, especially for TV news desks. As Joy said, they're getting thousands and thousands through the email, through fax, actually fax today works better than ever because people are tired of emails. We're starting again to send press kits, again because we're trying to get their attention. In New York, when I was running around, young, crazy person, I would deliver. I would never forget going to ABC News, delivering my press information. Next thing you know, they put me on a TV show about single women in New York. But, seriously, today you can't do that. It's very difficult. All the news places have security, very tight security. In those days, you could walk right in. One of the things that Joy said that's really important, and that is really know the media. Know who writes what, know what their deadlines are, follow their stories, send a personal note, gee, I thought this might be something of interest, and then explain what it's about. Just be in touch. My biggest, I think, the biggest thing that I learned really was, I'm a media specialist. I'm not a great press release writer, although I've had to relearn how to do it. That's really, know who you're writing to. Know what they write about. You can search them out on the internet. There's a lot of information. Follow their stories. You can target. One of the things that we do is we target individual reporters with specific stories. So it's not, in that case, that's not a press release. Here is an idea that's for you. We don't say that, but we're targeting it for them. And we've come up with an idea. What did I call that? What do I call that?
Yeah.
A pitch letter.
It's a pitch letter.
It's a pitch letter. Specially written, specially created just for individual media. And it doesn't go to anybody else unless they've turned it down, and then you go on to the next. But to get news, There's things called event marketing, cause-related marketing. Maybe the Rock River Tour, for example, wants to give a percentage of its earnings from the tour to the Irene Fund. That's a story. Reporters are interested when it's a do-good story. It's not just a commercial venture. It helps them tell your story. Because, they also have to worry about who their readers are. Nobody wants to read a commercial story.
How would you send that pitch letter? I mean, a note, a letter, a media kit, an email? I mean, what is it that
Any of the above. I mean, it depends on if you know the person, if you don't know the person. I do send pitch letters through email, and many times I'll follow up. Sometimes I send a pitch letter and say a press kit is on the way, more information is on the way. We also have video that, sometimes you use video to sell your story. They're not going to use your video necessarily, but it tells your story. It's not rocket science. What it is hard work, paying attention to detail, going to various places, knowing what your media is, knowing what your story is, and it's a lot of follow-up. A lot of follow-up. Not so much follow-up that they're going to slam the phone down on you, but follow-up enough so that they have a chance to tell your story. I mean, they're very, very busy. Very, very busy. And deadlines all the time.
When you say follow-up, what's an approach to follow-up with? What would you say?
Some people, there are services that cost money that actually have media lists and have information specifically about how a particular media person wants to be approached. I'm lucky in that I work with a California agency, and I get them. I can ask them to produce those lists for me. But it depends. I mean, some people will just want an email follow-up. Other people will want a telephone follow-up.
And what are you saying to them? Are you just saying?
You don't say. That's what you do not say. That's what you do not say. Well, hopefully you have something better than that to say, and it should be some new information. Something that's going to add to the story. Something new that's happened.
So it's not just did you get my story?
No, it's never, and actually never that. They hate that, right? You hate that. And if you think they haven't gotten it, you can send it by email again. Chances are it's gotten lost. We used to send specifically yellow press kits by messenger to the media. Why yellow? Why press kits? Harder to throw away. They stand out on the desk. I don't know, ask some questions.
I have a question. Who are you following up with?
Oh, whoever you sent that specific targeted pitch letter, that's who you're following up with.
Okay,
The writer,
what
the
if it's
reporter.
a press release? Who would you follow up with?
The news desk. I mean, yeah, I would talk to the news desk.
And what are you asking them? If you're following up, if you sent out press releases, I mean, I'm following the same questions.
you're having
What do
to
you want to
say.
say? Did you get it? Are you going to run it? Can I send you any more information? And you just feel like you're just...
Send more information.
So just find
I would
something
send
you
more
say.
information. Send more information. And, I'm lucky, I guess, because I've been here long enough and they will respond. Or if they don't respond, I can call them up, and because that's my business. That's what I do. It's different. We're in a little bit different situation. But yeah, come up with something new. And you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
A question also on the subject we were just talking about. Marty Cohn suggested sending out, starting about half a year before something like a studio tour, a big weekend event, 4 different press releases at 4 different times, each one building on the story.
each one adding more detail. Would you suggest doing that?
That's a good idea, especially for a big tour like that, and especially, depends on who you're sending it to also. I mean, a travel writer. The other thing we've talked about deadlines, but in terms of travel writers and in terms of Christmas gift ideas and that sort of thing, that's all happening right now. All of the editors, all the magazine editors are now looking for things for Christmas. You know, travel editors work much further in advance. Yankee Magazine works almost a year in advance. You know, these are magazines and things that you want to be in, but you're not going to be in unless you know what the deadlines are. So, I mean, any way to, another thing that would do is establish the fact, you know, get your name out there on a regular basis, and maybe they'll pay attention.
That's the idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it important in the subject line to flag it as?
The subject line is very important.
Can you talk about
Absolutely.
that a little bit? Good subject line.
You know, the media only, you know, they only cover the most unusual, crazy, captivating, visual kinds of things.
Yeah.
They tend to.
What's
They
that
tend
wrong?
to. Right? So, in your little quick subject line, you've got to come up with something that either is in tune with the times, that's trending right now, that's going to catch their attention. Why would they open that email? What is in the news now that your event or your art relates to?
But no adjectives.
No adjectives, that's right. It's not the biggest and the best. It could be the only, if it is. One of the surefire PR tricks, if you will, tactics, is to try and break a Guinness Book of World Records. It always gets publicity, always. Even if you don't break the record, the fact that you're attempting to break the record always gets publicity. I have 3 records in the Guinness Book. Yeah, world's underwater monopoly, world's largest American flags, which are on top of the City Corp building in New York, and the longest kiss.
How long?
It was long, many days. In a storefront for Vaseline petroleum jelly. National publicity. Oh, and of course, then nudity is another big thing, as you know, as Brattleboro knows. Nudity is big. I did the world's largest group nude wedding in Jamaica. It made all the network news. But we couldn't show anything, obviously. But it was just the idea of it. And that's the thing. Joyce talked about angles. You know, not the same old is going to get publicity. You have to come up with something new and different. And each year, beat it.
So you know this group pretty well, that you've got, you know. As artists, what do we not see in our lives or in our work that is of interest to the press? What are the angles that you see that we might be missing?
Well, you know, maybe it's the behind the scenes, you know, what happens behind the scenes. Human interest, how you know, the fact that maybe someone is an artist, but they're also a lawyer or a violin maker. You know, those are, especially in this area, you find that a lot. But outside this area, that's of interest. You know, the lifestyle here. Everyone has 3 jobs. And, you know, you're an artist and you're a chemist. Or, you know, you're all these different jobs. That's interesting. People are not like that in New York City. They have a job, and that's it. You know, they have, you know, it's different here. Right?
Yeah, for the people here, I mean, you're not going to have the longest kiss.
Right.
And probably, and we don't have any television except for VCTV, so it's really
However, I don't know, how many people here know that WCAX has a TV show called Making It by Hand? Have you pitched that show? Have you been on that show? You don't count. Seriously, that's an opportunity. They're looking for stories every week. And they go and they do a story, they follow you with the news, with the camera, and tell your story and what you do.
Just off the top of my head, because I'm not as good at this as Lynn is, but Mary and Roger, the fact that you live together and have studios together might be a wonderful pitch. 2 different types of work, your gorgeous house, your...
But Joyce, after you've done that once, then it's kind of been done.
I mean, you want it. Well, I've done it for you in the Boston Globe, I know.
Yes.
But I'm just thinking for Lynn, for this making it, that would be a natural for them. Or Sharon cooking and being an artist. Or, well, you guys are Chris and Carol are in everything. So, but I'm just trying to, and Deidre gets all this PR because she works with dead and dying people in fabric.
It's a growth industry.
Yeah. So I'm just, off the top of my head, these are stories that you could pitch.
Right, and these are human interest stories.
And then once you get it on tape, and it's got, commercials or a logo or something, it's on your website, it's connected. That is how you get national publicity. Once somebody writes about, the whole point is to get written about, because then you exist. Somehow in this world of ours, if you're not in the media, you don't exist. Even if you're in the media for only existing, like the Kardashian family. You don't exist if you're not.
Yeah. But that's successful.
10 million a year, come on.
Yeah. I teach this repetitive, it's a method of art that helps people relax, and they use it in art therapy. And there's 4 certified teachers in this method in the state of Vermont, and all 4 of us are working on a piano up at Hanover at the Hands-On Pianos. Do you know about that event? A bunch of people are painting pianos, kind of like people painted moose and people painted cows. They're doing pianos up in Hanover. So there's a group of us that are actually working on, about 12 of us doing this piano up in Hanover, and including all 4 of the certified teachers in the state of Vermont. So would that might be...
yeah.
That's a big story.
Yeah,
that's a very good story.
Okay.
And that's a good travel editor story too, because you're going to obviously have them for the public to see and on display. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brattleboro West Arts did a sort of informal survey a few years ago, and of our membership, 80% of our sales were outside of the area. And I think that's not unusual that people who are making a living aren't selling to people who live in
That's why we
rural
have 3 jobs.
How should we use the Vermont brand in our marketing? What is the cachet? How do you see that being spun in a way that will be effective?
Always say Vermont. I mean, you live in Vermont. One of the things that I think the state is trying to help with, tourism folks are trying to help with, and that is to promote the arts more. Although there's still, skiing is still #1 and winter is still #1. One of the things that, and I think Doug is instrumental in this, and that is, get to know the tourism department of the state of Vermont. They have a website. They'll put things up on the website. Treat them as media also. I mean, they can help sell your story. They can put it on their website. They can also reach out to editors that they are in touch with. Every event should be on their website. the editors from across the country check that site. They look for interesting things on that site. And if you're not listed there, get listed there and put your events there. It's free. And the Arts Council newsletter, and I'm sure everybody sends stuff up to them, and the art blog, what's it called? Artzine or something like that? I forget. Yeah, and, you know, get it out there, you know?
Come to think of it, Carol, the whole Irene story is a national story. I don't know if you've done that, but that would be, that's a natural for artists wiped out, regrowing, see the tour.
John Potter wrote that wonderful story. Would it be up to him then to?
No.
No, it's up to you. That's not his job.
New England, there was a Meg Brazil, who lives in Vermont, interviewed us last winter and did a wonderful story about Vermont artists who were affected by the flood. I think she highlighted 3 people, and we were 4 people. We were one of the households, and I think 2 others. And it was a really wonderful story. I finally made it in Art New England, but it wasn't the reason I wanted it.
Was you suggesting that we do our own story, or we use?
No, I'm suggesting that you write a pitch letter or a press release. The trouble with the Reformer is that they're not archived for very long.
Yeah.
But if you,
yeah,
but the Commons is archived forever. But I don't know that we did a story. But somehow a link in a pitch letter to you guys on the front page or the Reformer would make any edit. Oh, it's done. All the information is there. We just have to fact check it. I think that would be a natural. It's kind of late now, but it's you could focus on the rebuilding.
Yeah.
And
the upcoming tour.
And the upcoming
Exactly.
tour. Yeah. I mean, you know, that kind of a story, you can send to the New York Times or some major paper a local story, but you would never send, let's say, the New York Times a Wall Street Journal story. You know, you have to, but you could send that to a TV show. You could send the New York Times to a TV show, and that lends credibility. But I mean, a USA Today or New York Times, Boston Globe, it's the perfect time. Actually, I think I'm going to be doing a follow-up, a special issue on Irene and how it's affected this area and how people have collaborated after the fact and how things are. We have that story in our summer issue.
Thank you.
But that's a perfect story. Unfortunately, sometimes it does take a disaster to bring the news. That's the nature of the news. So, you know,
That's what it means.
understand that. Well, exactly. Understand it and exploit it. You know, it's a horrible thing to
The press
say.
release that we have for the Rock River artists for this summer talks a lot about the flood and the effects of the flood on our area. So we're just starting now to send that to area newspapers. So you're suggesting we
Go
could
beyond that.
go beyond that.
Go beyond that. It's a national story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I just actually want to make a comment after what Joyce said about the Reformer, because I get so frustrated that the Reformer does not archive their stuff. You can't go. There's no permalink for a story that you did.
How long do they keep it?
Well, you save it to your desktop.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Save it. If you have if somebody do a story on you in the
Copy and
Reformer,
paste it into your own.
Yeah.
copy and paste it into your own onto your own website,
Yeah, we can do that.
and then link it to link that and link that on your Facebook page and do all that stuff. But get it, grab it. I've even taken those things.
Just copy and paste it
I'll
into
tell you,
your own email.
You can copy and paste. I've even Joyce. I know what she's asking me that. But the other, I would go so far as to sometimes I will take it and scan it. Scan the story from the newspaper, and then take that.
Sometimes I take a picture.
Right. Yeah, right. So I have it, and I can.
Yeah,
then you can use it and you don't have to depend on the fact that the reformer.
Before the electronic thing, you could just cut it out and copy it and send it with your letter, but you can't do that anymore.
Right.
Perfect.
You can do this.
Scan it.
So that's good.
Yeah.
I just took all of my press releases that had been scanned over the years, because a lot of the newspapers don't archive back, and put them all on a Behance or Art Slant or something like that, and then link it so that in going after a grant, they wanted to see evidence of where it'd been for all those years. And it was amazing, because I'm like, you know, like that age where you're right on the edge of, I don't know how to do this. And I was learning how to do it like last night, so I could finish.
Where was that? Wow. You just said that?
Say it again?
But where was it that you said?
It's, you document them, you take the scans.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, and then you document them in Behance, or it's like a Flickr, it's like a...
Behance?
Behance.
Oh, B-E-H-A-N-C-E?
Yeah. And
Like
Art
MPS.
Slant is another one, there's probably a zillion.
Like .coms?
Yeah.
And if you get the grant, that's a news story.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm impressed at how much work this is. That
Very labor intensive.
That you're talking about it, you know, being personalized, that you need to know the media that you're writing, that you're sending to. So that I assume that this means that what you send to one place is not what you'd send to another place. So that there's the personalization, there's knowing the deadlines, there's all of this stuff going on. I'll just in one of our Making It in the Arts, William Hayes put out the thought or his observation that anyone who is making a living as an artist spends twice as much time on business and marketing as they do on making their art, and that is a formula that kind of shocked me, but then I thought about it, I talked with other people, and that is the way that it is. But I think but we're not just talking about spending a lot of time here, but we're also talking about a lot of expertise and a lot of specialized skills that artists may not necessarily have. At what point does it make sense for an artist to get help in marketing? What are your observations? What size business does an artist have to have before that makes sense? Or what are your observations about when it makes sense for an artist to look for marketing help?
I think it's an individual situation. I think that what's happening now, I mean, really, nobody really in Vermont understands PR. You know, it really doesn't exist here in a sophisticated way. You know, I think that if you're just interested in local media and getting the word out locally, certainly you can do it yourself. You know, it's not, and again, none of it is rocket science. It's really a lot of getting to know your subject and understanding what's interesting to other people. That's really what it's about. So, you know, I think it's really an individual case. I think that the studio tours are retaining PR people or marketing people, and that's a good idea. I think there's more collaboration among the arts, and then people can afford to hire somebody to help them, you know, go beyond what they're doing now. You know, it really depends, I think.
I can tell you that I write press releases for businesses, and I get $300 a press release. So, okay.
Writer for hire.
I am a writer for hire sometimes. I also want to say that what Bill Hayes' talk, which I practically transcribed and put in the Commons, I also have running in Lynn's magazine when it comes out. The next issue will pretty much have most of that information in it. So if you missed his talk, you can get it in Southern Vermont Arts and Living.
Thank you, Joyce, and that'll be out this weekend. we want to talk a little bit about TV and radio? I mean, really,
Well,
it's just a matter of...
let's see if there are any I think that we've touched on it. So let's just questions. Anything that you hoped that that would be covered that hasn't been, or anything that is kind of nagging, in the back of your thinking. Any radical ideas?
I'd like to know how we can get the Greyhounds on Channel 8. We've been trying for years to get in there, and I mean, we're local. It's a huge story. We're a huge place. It's our 20th anniversary year. I don't know how to get in there.
How are you approaching them?
Well, we're really not, because I don't know where to start. I've heard from the past.
I would start with the news desk. I would call the news desk and say very quickly, "Hi, I'm so-and-so and so-and-so, and we have the Greyhounds of the 20th anniversary, and I want to get to the right person. Who should I send information to?"
Okay.
Start there. Okay. And then put your story together.
There are so many summer festivals and music festivals out there. How do I differentiate ours?
By who you bring to everything that you decide for an event, everything makes a difference to whether or not it's publicizable. Sometimes, we used to say in New York, we have nothing with nothing. What are we going to do? Well, always the sure thing is to get a celebrity. One hates to do that. In many cases, it costs money, and sometimes you can't do it. But seriously, sometimes it means bringing in a known somebody who can raise the bar. Think of something that not everybody else is doing, and something that you would be interested in hearing about. Maybe you do something for 24 hours a day. Maybe you have a pajama party. I mean, you got to think about doing it a little differently.
Although one of the things that in thinking about branding and the arts, the importance of authenticity, and I don't think that that's just a Vermont thing, but can you get in trouble by putting too much spin on something and making it not something that's real?
Depends on what it is you're trying to sell or do. Even the Brattleboro Museum does the, what are those things? Dominoes. Legos. And didn't they do a cartoon, an overnight cartoon event? Now, all of those things, didn't they bring in the Warhol show? Well, not publicity. Did it hurt the Brattleboro Museum? Not really. It depends on how you do it and what it is that you're doing. You're not going to have a bunch of people running around to an exhibit in the nude. That would be silly. But, bringing in a well-known person is maybe an idea.
It would seem to me that part of what is the uniqueness of your story is why you were doing this in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you having another festival rather than simply going to one of the other ones that's already here? What is it that you're doing that is different? And is it a different audience, different time of year?
Yeah, just the fact that it's in one of the 10 prettiest villages in the United States is not a story.
Well, that's been a story for 10 years. Right?
Yeah, it's been out there quite a bit, so you can't write on that forever.
No, but that would be your third paragraph opener.
Yeah, third paragraph.
So then you're giving them whatever your pitch is, all the information, and then something else that they can say about you that gives you credibility, which is what you're always looking for. Yeah, so that would be the way to structure that, but you have to have a reason for putting on the festival, so you would know. That's an individual choice, how you want to present yourself. Everyone's going to do it differently.
Which is why the press release is an art.
Thank you.
That's right, that's right.
And I have to say that I'm a writer, and I can't market myself. I mean, so it's
hard.
It's hard.
And I don't market myself either.
Yeah, it's very, very hard.
Okay, so I approach this question from, is there a point in sort of business development where it makes sense for an artist? Is there something inherently, is it difficult for artists to promote themselves or to see themselves in a way that others will see them? I've talked with gallery owners, who see this, that artists can't sell their own art because it's too personal to them and they see it from their own perspective. And to sell it, you have to see it from the buyer's perspective. And this is what a gallery does, is it provides that intermediary. Is there a way in which artists can't see the story, can't put it out in a way that is going to work because it's too important to us, it's too personal? And if it is, then what do we do?
Buddies. I just thought of this.
Buddies.
But yeah, find somebody in a similar position and work it out with, you tell me what you see in me and I'll tell you what I see in you. Sharon?
I took a lot of business classes at one point, and they kept saying triple braided cord. The triple braided cord. You're the person who has the work. You have a friend who explains it to someone else. It's a three-party deal, or it doesn't work. It's a three-party deal.
Okay, so you form three
Yeah,
people buddies.
That's the buddy. It's a triple braided cord.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And if you have a lot of money, hire Lynn.
Yeah, you need a lot. No. I think that it's not just true for artists, though. I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be a PR business.
It's
Seriously.
business.
I mean, I think it's any business. It's hard for people. First of all, you're all busy doing what you do. For me, I'm busy doing what I do. So I'm not out promoting myself. I don't even advertise, don't even have a website. It's ridiculous. I am on Facebook, though.
I was going to say, I mean, you both know I have a friend who's a fabulous hairdresser, and she got a business up here because I talked enough about her.
Yeah.
So it was just talking about someone else. When someone says, how is this? Oh, well, you need to see. And
Well, PR is really word of mouth. It's word of mouth in a much larger forum, whether it's, social networking, in the newspaper, on television, on radio, having an event, tying in with a cause, sponsoring an event. Another thing we do is sponsor an event. It's getting the word out. That's in a bigger way. More than 10 people in the room. We used to have events where it didn't matter how many people came. Why? Because we had the media there. So if you had 10 people in the room, but you had the New York Times, there's 300,000, 400,000 people that'll, get the story. So.
Any last thoughts or questions? Thanks so much for coming out, and thank you for taking your work and your art seriously. This is one of the things that we've, that I've observed, is that it's important to take our work seriously, and once you start to do that, other things fall into place. Coming out this evening, asking these questions, being involved, being willing to make the investment in yourselves and in your business and in your art is going to be good for Windham County. So thanks for coming out this evening.
thank you, guys.